It was supposed to be just another ordinary Monday morning. The sound of school buses rolling up, backpacks slung over shoulders, laughter, chatter, sneakers squeaking against freshly waxed hallways. But by 10:15 a.m., that ordinary day would turn into something far darker. Because in the principal's office, a 15-year-old black girl sat across the desk, hands trembling, heart pounding. Her name? Imani Carter. And the accusation thrown against her was enough to stain her record forever. Fighting. Aggression. Defiance. The punishment? Immediate suspension. But here's the twist. Imani hadn't laid a single hand on anyone. And when her mother, an attorney with fire in her veins, heard what happened, she vowed to burn down the very system that tried to silence her child. Let's rewind. Imani wasn't the kind of teenager who stood out. She wasn't the loudest in class. She wasn't the rebel sneaking out of the house. She was the type of girl who stayed late in the library. The type who tutored kids struggling with math. And wrote short stories in the back of her notebook. Her world? Pretty small. School. Home. Church. Repeat. But like so many black girls in America, her existence was read as a threat before she even opened her mouth. That morning, she'd been in the cafeteria, laughing with her best friend over inside jokes, when a group of students at another table started mocking her braids. "You look like Medusa. Does your mom even pay for real hair?" Imani ignored it at first. She'd heard worse. But when one of them shoved her shoulder as she walked past, she finally snapped. "Don't touch me." That was it. That was the crime. By the time the cafeteria monitor stepped in, the story had already flipped. Whispers spread like wildfire. Imani's starting fights again. And by second period, the principal's office was waiting to understand the storm that was about to unfold. You have to understand who Imani was. And the woman who raised her. Her mother, Danielle Carter, wasn't just a parent. She was a force. A civil rights attorney with a reputation for never backing down. Especially when the stakes involved dignity, justice, and the truth. She had grown up in the South. The kind of place where being black meant you learned early on how to walk the tightrope. Don't talk back. Don't cause a scene. Keep your head low. But Danielle refused to pass that silence down to her daughter. "Speak up," she always told Imani. "Your voice is your armor." Still, Danielle also knew the world had a dangerous way of twisting that very armor into a weapon. And on that Monday morning, the world did exactly that. The school claimed Imani lunged at another student. They claimed she was hostile. They claimed she was a threat to safety. And when Danielle arrived, storming through the front doors, heels striking the tile like warning shots, the staff didn't know they were about to face the fight of their lives. At first, the principal, Mr. Whitaker, tried to brush her off. "It's policy, Mrs. Carter. We can't allow violence in our school." But Danielle wasn't moved. "Violence? Show me the footage." The principal froze. Because in 2025, almost every corner of that school had a camera. And guess what the footage showed? Not a single swing. Not a single shove. Just Imani, clutching her backpack, turning away, before another student shoved her first. The room went silent. The staff shifted nervously. And Danielle leaned forward, voice like a blade. "So let me get this straight. My daughter gets suspended for defending herself, while the student who assaulted her walks free?" That was the moment everything flipped. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about a suspension. It was about systemic bias. It was about how black girls were 4 times more likely to be suspended than their white classmates. It was about every unspoken rule that turned their existence into a problem. Danielle went public. She held a press conference right on the school steps. Microphones flashing. Cameras rolling. Her voice rising above the noise. "This isn't discipline. This is discrimination. And we will not be silent while our children are criminalized for existing." Parents rallied. Students marched. The story made headlines. Attorney challenges school suspension, claims racial bias. And when the school board tried to hold their hearing in private, Danielle forced it into the open. She read the policy out loud. She cited case law. She played the footage again, frame by frame, until the truth was undeniable. By the end of that night, the suspension was overturned. But for Danielle, it wasn't victory. It was just survival. Because the scars on her daughter's spirit? Those didn't vanish with a signature on paper. Imani returned to school the next day. Head high, but eyes wary. Some students whispered apologies. Others glared harder than before. And in the principal's office, behind closed doors, Whitaker fumed. Already plotting how to tighten the rules. How to push back without leaving fingerprints. Danielle knew this wasn't over. This was just round one. Because when you challenge power, power doesn't surrender quietly. And so the question hung heavy in the air. Would Imani's story spark real change? Or would the system find a new way to silence her voice? Stay tuned. This story is more than just a fight over suspension. It's a reminder that silence is compliance. That resilience isn't just about surviving attacks, but about standing tall in the face of injustice. Imani's story shows us, even when the world tries to write you off, your truth, your dignity, your voice, is stronger than their lies. And sometimes it takes just one person refusing to back down to force the system into the light. It was 10:15 on a Monday morning. The sun was streaming through the windows of Lincoln High School in Atlanta. Lockers slamming, sneakers squeaking, chatter echoing down the hall. But inside the principal's office, time stood still. A 15-year-old black girl sat on the edge of her chair. Her fingers dug into her backpack strap. Her pulse beat against her throat. Her name? Imani Carter. And in that moment, she was no longer just a student. She was an accused criminal. Fighting. Aggression. Defiance. That's what the paperwork said. That's what the school would remember. But here's the thing. Imani hadn't thrown a single punch. And when her mother, an attorney with a fire that couldn't be tamed, heard what happened, she turned a suspension into a courtroom showdown. And trust me, the system never saw her coming. Let's rewind. Imani wasn't a troublemaker. She wasn't the kind of kid who cut class, snuck out at night, or stirred up chaos. She was the type of girl who stayed behind after school to shelve books in the library. The type who smiled shyly when teachers praised her essays. The type who could spend hours sketching characters in her notebook, escaping into worlds where nobody mocked her hair or her skin. But reality wasn't that kind. That Monday morning, she sat in the cafeteria, laughing with her best friend Tasha over corny inside jokes. The kind of laughter that makes your chest hurt. The kind that reminds you life isn't always heavy. But at the next table, a group of students watched. Whispering. Snickering. One boy leaned over, sneering. "Girl, you look like Medusa with those braids." The others joined in. "Is that even your real hair? You must have got that done in somebody's basement." Imani froze. She'd heard worse. She was used to swallowing it down. But when she walked past their table to throw away her tray, one of them shoved her shoulder. And that was it. Imani spun around, eyes blazing. "Don't touch me." Her voice cracked through the cafeteria. Heads turned. Phones lifted. And just like that, the narrative shifted. By the time a cafeteria monitor rushed over, the story had already been rewritten. Imani was starting fights. To understand why this story caught fire, you have to understand the woman who walked through those school doors 30 minutes later. Her name? Danielle Carter. Civil rights attorney. Single mother. Daughter of the South. Danielle had built her career defending those who were silenced. She'd stood in courtrooms where police officers lied under oath. She'd faced down judges who dismissed her clients as nothing more than statistics. And every time, she won by refusing to flinch. But this case? This wasn't just another client. This was her child. She stormed through the front doors of Lincoln High, heels striking the tile like gunshots. Secretaries scrambled. Teachers whispered. She pushed straight into the principal's office, eyes sharp as knives. "You suspended my daughter for fighting?" Her voice was calm, too calm. The kind of calm that makes grown men sweat. Principal Whitaker cleared his throat. "It's policy, Mrs. Carter. We can't allow violence." "Violence?" Danielle snapped. "Show me the footage." The room went silent. Because in 2025, almost every inch of the school had cameras. And when the tape rolled, the truth flickered across the screen in grainy pixels. Imani, clutching her backpack, turning away. And then, another student, shoving her first. No punches. No lunges. Just a girl saying, "Don't touch me." Danielle leaned forward, her voice cutting like steel. "So let me get this straight. My daughter gets suspended for defending herself, while the student who assaulted her walks free?" The staff shifted uncomfortably. Whitaker's face reddened. And in that instant, power shifted. This wasn't just about a fight. This was about systemic bias. You see, Danielle knew this story too well. When she was 16, she'd been accused of talking back to a teacher who had misgraded her paper. Her parents had no money for lawyers. She served a week-long suspension, lost her spot on the debate team, lost her chance at a scholarship. That sting? She carried it her whole life. It was the reason she studied law. The reason she fought case after case where black children were punished more harshly, more quickly, more permanently. So when it was her daughter in the crosshairs? This fight wasn't just personal. It was generational. Teachers whispered in the lounge. She's always been such a sweet kid. But didn't she have attitude sometimes? I mean, Danielle Carter is a lawyer. She's making a scene. Students posted the video on TikTok. Some comments defended Imani. Y'all see she ain't even do nothing. Others were cruel. Typical. Always playing the victim. Local news picked it up within hours. Attorney claims daughter's suspension is racially motivated. Suddenly, the whole city was watching. A week later, the school board held a hearing. Danielle insisted it be public. Parents packed the room. Reporters scribbled notes. Cameras rolled. Whitaker adjusted his tie. Danielle stood tall, her daughter at her side. Mrs. Carter, the board chair began. Your daughter was found in violation of our conduct policy. Danielle's eyes narrowed. Let's read the policy aloud, shall we? She flipped open the handbook. Section 4, Paragraph B, students engaging in physical aggression may face suspension. Now let's watch the footage, frame by frame. The screen lit up. The shove. Imani turning, voice trembling. Don't touch me. Danielle's voice rose. My daughter was the victim. Yet she was punished. Why? Because her very presence was read as aggression. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whitaker stammered. She raised her voice. She created a disturbance. Danielle leaned in. So raising your voice is aggression now? Tell me, how many white students have been suspended for raising their voices? Silence. Later that night, Imani scribbled in her notebook. Dear Diary. They look at me and see trouble. Even when I'm quiet, they call me loud. Even when I'm kind, they call me angry. I didn't want Mom to fight for me. I wanted them to just see me. But maybe they never will. Her words bled into the page. Her truth too heavy for a 15-year-old to carry. By the end of that hearing, the board had no choice. The suspension was overturned. The record cleared. Reporters swarmed Danielle. Do you see this as a victory? She looked into the camera's voice steady. This isn't victory. This is survival. Until every black child is treated with dignity. The fight is far from over. Parents across the city began demanding policy reviews. Student groups marched, chanting Imani's name. Other families came forward with similar stories. Local media turned national. CNN, MSNBC. Hashtags trended, #ProtectBlackGirls. But behind closed doors, Principal Whitaker seethed. He muttered about outside agitators. He drafted new policies, stricter, harsher, buried under fine print. Because when you challenge power, power doesn't surrender quietly. Imani returned to school the next morning. Her chin high. Her steps slow. Some students smiled. Others whispered. The hallways hummed with tension. And deep in the principal's office, Whitaker watched through the glass. His jaw tight. His mind already calculating his next move. Imani's story had lit a fire. But the question lingered like smoke. Would this blaze burn the system down? Or would the system find a new way to silence her? Only time would tell. Viewers, remember this. Silence is compliance. Resilience isn't just surviving the blows. It's demanding the world acknowledge they were thrown. Imani's voice was nearly stolen by a system built to doubt her. But her mother's fight proved a truth we must never forget. Even in darkness, truth will not stay buried. And when one person refuses to back down, they force the world to listen. If this story moved you, don't forget to hit that like button and show your support. Subscribe so you never miss the next powerful story we uncover together. And share this video, because the more voices we have, the harder we are to silence.